Ladies and gentlemen, we are at war with Iran. I'm Carson Wagner. This is the Carson Wagner Show.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people.
All right, it is February 28th, 2026. The United States and Israel launched coordinated strikes on Iran overnight. The operation is called Epic Fury on the American side and Roaring Lion on the Israeli side. Targets include Tehran, Isfahan, Qom, and Kermanshah, which are Iran's key missile infrastructure locations, its nuclear program, and reportedly Iranian political and military leadership such as the Ayatollah. Iran has already retaliated massively. Missiles have been fired at U.S. military bases in Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, and the UAE. Sirens are going off across Israel, and Israeli hospitals have moved underground. Bunkers are being opened, and the U.S. Embassy in Israel is evacuating. Guys, this is a historic moment, and I have a very clear position on it. The strikes are right. They need to happen 100%. Don't listen to what Tucker Carlson says. Don't listen to what the isolationists say that have infiltrated the conservative movement. These strikes were absolutely necessary. They very possibly saved your life and my life and the lives of hundreds of millions of Americans. But they should have happened sooner. I'm going to explain why in just a moment. First off, why do I support this? Iran has spent decades building a nuclear program whose stated purpose, no matter how much their diplomats try to dress it up, no matter how much Tucker Carlson advocates for them, is to produce a weapon capable of annihilating Israel and the United States and projecting power across the entire Middle East. These people are insane. They fund Hamas. They fund Hezbollah. They fund the Houthis. Okay, we're not talking about stable people here. These are religious fanatics who hate us. They are the single largest state sponsor of terrorism on the planet. And they've been openly committed to the destruction of a democratic American ally and ultimately our destruction for a very, very long time. The strike this morning targeted Iran's missile and military capabilities with the explicit objective of preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons and ultimately toppling the regime. That is the right objective. It is also long overdue. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu said, "The goal is to remove the existential threat posed by the terrorist regime in Iran."
My brothers and sisters, citizens of Israel, before the holidays, Israel and the United States launched a joint operation, Operation Roaring Lion. The goal of the operation, to put an end to the threat from the Ayatollah regime in Iran. At this moment, the IDF is striking targets of the repressive regime, facilities of the Revolutionary Guards and the besieged, and together with the United States, sites of ballistic missiles that threaten both Israel and U.S. forces. This operation will continue for as long as necessary.
He's right. This is an existential threat. Calling it anything else is merely wishful thinking. We don't let religious fanatics who hate us get the most powerful weapons on the planet that can literally kill everyone in the United States in a very short period of time. That's madness, and I'm very glad it was stopped. And I want to give credit where it's due, okay? Trump made a very hard call. A lot of people dislike him for this, inside the conservative movement and outside of it. He deployed 2 different carrier strike groups to the region. He engaged in negotiations. He gave Iran every opportunity to make a deal. So he did handle this very honorably and in a lot of ways like he should have. Just the night before the strikes, Oman's foreign minister said a breakthrough had been reached, that Iran had agreed never to stockpile enriched uranium, and bringing in outside agencies to verify that they kept their word on that, so essentially maintaining accountability. But Trump still ordered the strikes. This tells me he assessed that Iran's agreements cannot be trusted. That's a completely fair assessment. The regime was negotiating with one hand and rebuilding with the other. We actually have video footage of them rebuilding the military sites at Isfahan and Fordow, where they were struck in Operation Midnight Hammer last year. So he acted. I respect that completely. But I have a criticism, and it's a very serious one. Starting in late December of 2025, the Iranian people rose up. There were massive nationwide protests everywhere across Iran. It's the largest since the 1979 revolution. It spread to over 100 cities. It was driven by economic collapse, the destruction of the rial, which is the Iranian money system, and decades of oppression under a theocratic Muslim regime that has never represented them once. Okay, this is one of legitimately the worst tyrannical regimes on the planet. The Iranian government's response to these protests was obviously very balanced and sane, as you can guess. They massacred them in the streets. Human rights organizations have documented tens of thousands of deaths at the very least. The regime didn't negotiate its way through the crisis. It shot its way through it, because this is what tyrannical regimes do, believe it or not. And while that was happening, the United States waited. Despite the fact that Trump promised if the Iranian government starts shooting the protesters, he was going to get involved and stop it, he did nothing. He stayed quiet, they waited, and nothing happened. And that's infuriating. And that is extremely, extremely big. It's a fail. It is a complete fail on Trump's part. We watched, we issued statements, we held nuclear talks in Oman, we deployed a second carrier group which sent a signal, but we did not act for the people who were dying in the streets calling for regime change and trusting that the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, was going to come to their aid and stop the massacre of innocents. Trump is now telling the Iranian people this, with bombs falling. Take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will probably be your only chance for generations. I believe he means that. But I want to ask him, where was that energy in January when those same people were being killed for trying to do exactly that and you broke your promise to them? You know, tens of thousands of people die when the President of the United States makes his promise. That's not a small thing. It's a very, very big fail. The moment to act was when Iranian people were already in the streets. That was the moment when military pressure, targeted strikes, and American moral support could have converged with a genuine popular uprising. And frankly, a lot of the bloodshed could have been spared. That is now going to happen. That was the window, and we did not take it. So I want to be fair to Trump. I don't know everything that was happening behind closed doors. There may have been operational or intelligence reasons or political reasons for the timing that are completely legitimate. There were ongoing negotiations. I do know that. There are always variables the public doesn't see, so I'm careful to criticize what's going on. But from where I'm standing, it looks like the administration just watched thousands of Iranians die fighting for their freedom in the streets and then launched the strikes after the protest movement, which would have majorly helped this and maybe made the difference between this being successful and this not being successful, had already been crushed. That movement has already been crushed. The protesters are dead. Now Trump is asking a beaten, grieving population to rise up again. That's a very different ask than striking in solidarity with a movement that was already moving. Trump had his chance. He didn't take it. He lost it. Now he's trying to make up for it, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see if it actually succeeds or not. Again, the strikes are still absolutely right. The cause is still very, very just. A nuclear-armed Iran is the end of the world. It is the death of the United States. It is the end of the world. Full stop, bar none, period. I'll keep following the story very closely. As of the time of this recording, it's 9:37 a.m. on Saturday, February 28th. There are no confirmed American casualties, praise God. Iran is retaliating, though, against American bases and Israeli bases and other bases in the Middle East. So this is not over, not by a long shot. Pray for the people of Iran, all of them who deserve a government that doesn't massacre them in the streets. Pray for our troops, pray for Israel, and stay tuned.